Welcome back to the channel where the most ordinary coins hold the most extraordinary secrets and where the contents of your pocket change could very well be hiding multi-million-dollar surprises, because today we're diving headfirst into one of the most unbelievable, shocking, and historically groundbreaking stories in the entire realm of numismatics. A story that revolves around the legendary 1987 D-quarter dollar that has taken the world by storm and rocked the foundation of modern coin valuation after being sold for a jaw-dropping $92 million, a figure so enormous and seemingly impossible that it has left collectors, historians, and financial experts alike stunned and scrambling to understand how a coin minted in the late 20th century, one of hundreds of millions produced that year, could rise in value to become one of the most expensive quarters ever sold. And the answer lies deep within the coin itself, in a mind-boggling and unprecedented series of minting errors, die anomalies, metallurgical oddities, transitional features, and mechanical missteps that came together with historical timing and perfect storm-like precision to create what is now considered the single most error-rich and unique 1987 D-quarter ever known to exist. A coin that defied all expectations and bypassed quality control systems at the Denver Mint during a period when production volume was at an all-time high and human oversight was stretched thin, allowing a series of compounding issues to occur undetected and resulting in a coin that today is viewed not merely as currency but as a priceless artifact of numismatic history. And what makes this coin so incredibly special and valuable is not any single error in isolation but the accumulation and overlap of multiple serious flaws, beginning with the most eye-catching feature, an extreme double-die obverse so intense that the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 1987 all appear clearly double to the naked eye, with sharp offsets that make the text look shadowed and almost three-dimensional, a type of doubling typically seen only in legendary coins like the 1955 double-die cent or the 1972 double-die Lincoln penny. And this isn't the kind of doubling that comes from machine movement or minor die deterioration. This is a full hub doubling from a die that received two separate impressions out of alignment, an error that should have been caught instantly but somehow slipped through the cracks. And then on top of that comes the rotated die strike error, where the obverse and reverse of the coin are misaligned by nearly 90 degrees, so that when the coin is flipped over, the eagle on the reverse appears sideways rather than upright, a glaring error that further proves a breakdown in equipment calibration during that minting run. But the surprises don't end there, because close inspection reveals a partial collar strike, a phenomenon where the coin was not fully seated in the collar die during striking, leading to a coin that has a warped, uneven edge and a slightly expanded diameter, giving the coin a warped, almost bloated look that dramatically sets it apart from standard quarters and makes it immediately recognizable to trained eyes. And then we get into the metallurgical aspect of this marvel, where things become even more mysterious, because when the coin was analyzed using non-invasive X-ray fluorescence technology, experts discovered that the composition of the planchet was not the standard clad sandwich of copper and nickel used for quarters since 1965, but instead included elevated traces of zinc, tin, and even a minute percentage of silver, suggesting that the planchet used to strike this quarter was either contaminated, misprocessed, or entirely foreign to US quarter standards, possibly the result of leftover or test planchets from a foreign coinage contract accidentally fed into the quarter press. And this kind of off-metal strike is astronomically rare and highly sought after, particularly when it involves precious metals or experimental alloys, which can significantly multiply a coin's worth and increase its historical significance. And adding another layer of rarity is the discovery of a significant die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind faint but visible impressions of the eagle's wings on the obverse field and ghost-like outlines of Washington's head visible on the reverse, a ghosting effect that speaks to a moment of catastrophic failure in the minting process and adds yet another dimension of uniqueness to this already overflowing list of errors. And as if that weren't enough, the coin also exhibits a noticeable off-center strike estimated at 15%, where the design is shifted toward the edge and a blank crescent of metal remains unstruck, with parts of the lettering and image fading off the flan. Yet the date and mint mark D remain fully visible, an ideal condition for off-center errors, which increases its value even further. And when combined with all of the previously mentioned features, double die, rotated die, partial collar, off-metal composition, die clash, and off-center strike, it becomes clear that this coin isn't just rare, it's unprecedented. A never-before-seen alignment of errors in a single quarter that represents one of the most dramatic minting anomalies in modern American history, and the story behind its discovery only adds to the legend. as the coin was found by a retired mechanic in Colorado who had a habit of collecting coins from his daily pocket change and storing them in jars, and while sorting through them years later, he noticed a quarter that looked a little weird, and decided to show it to a local coin dealer, who immediately recognized something special, eventually submitting the coin to PCGS and NGC for authentication, where the real bombshells dropped as the coin was subjected to full-scale analysis, tested for weight, diameter, alloy composition, and magnified under high-resolution photography to confirm every detail of every error, and the resulting certification and grading notes declared it a unique specimen, with no other known example even remotely close in terms of error complexity and stacking, which quickly made it the object of desire among elite collectors, hedge fund investors, museums, and private currency vaults across the world. And after 2 years of private showings, silent bidding rounds, and intense negotiations, the coin finally went to auction at a special high-security event in Dubai, where it ignited a fierce bidding war among ultra-wealthy numismatists and international investors and eventually sold for an astounding $92 million to an anonymous tech billionaire with a known interest in rare artifacts and historical anomalies. And the sale immediately made headlines around the world, appearing in news outlets, financial journals, and even cultural think pieces discussing the intersection of rarity, history, and value, and the coin now sits in a climate-controlled vault with round-the-clock armed security, insured by Lloyd's of London, and occasionally exhibited under strict conditions at elite financial conferences and numismatic expos, serving as both a symbol of numismatic perfection through error and as a monument to the incredible power that tiny details and mechanical failures can wield in the right historical and economic context. And since its discovery, this 1987 D quarter has inspired a massive resurgence in interest in late 20th century era coins, especially those from the 1980s, a decade often overlooked by collectors in favor of older or more obviously valuable periods, leading to new roll hunting efforts, variety catalogs, and advanced testing labs that offer analysis for error detection and metallurgical anomalies in even the most common-looking coins, and all of this attention has sparked important conversations in numismatic circles about just how much we still don't know about transitional years, unexplained die varieties, foreign planchet usage, and undocumented test runs at US mints, which now appear to have been more common than previously acknowledged, and this 1987 D quarter is now at the center of a movement, not only because of its monetary value but because of the questions it raises and the doorways it opens, questions like how many other quarters could exist with similar but undiscovered errors, how many anomalies went unrecorded due to quality control gaps or were dismissed as damaged and lost to time, and what role intentional or experimental mint activity played in creating such coins in the first place, and whether or not additional specimens could surface in the future, adding to the historical record and possibly rivaling this one in scope or even value. And as collectors across the world now examine their own 1,987 quarters under microscopes through weight scales, and with XRF guns, the hunt is on for the next great discovery, the next multi-million-dollar minting miracle, the next tiny coin with a towering story to tell. And if this $92 million quarter teaches us anything, it's that perfection is not always what makes something valuable. In fact, it's often the imperfection, the error, the deviation from the norm, that holds the most magic, because it tells a story not only of what was intended but of what happened instead, and in doing so, it becomes a frozen moment in the chaotic dance of machines, metals, and human oversight, a time capsule of mechanical coincidence and accidental artistry that will never happen again in quite the same way. So if you're watching this right now and wondering if your change jar, your wallet, or your old coin collection could be hiding a similar treasure, don't hesitate. Check your 1987 D quarters carefully, weigh them, measure them, inspect every detail, because somewhere out there, lightning might strike twice. Welcome back to the channel where rare finds and unexpected fortunes come together, where we dive deep into the overlooked treasures that might be lying in your pocket change, tucked in a drawer, or resting unnoticed in an old coin jar. Today we're about to unravel one of the most surprising stories from the world of numismatics, a tale that's as captivating as it is rewarding, as we spotlight a seemingly ordinary 1980 D quarter dollar that turned heads and stirred headlines when it was discovered to be worth an astounding $38 million, not because of its age or its rarity alone, but because of the spectacular, complex, and highly unique combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and historical relevance that transformed it from a regular piece of circulated currency into a numismatic gem that left seasoned collectors and auction houses scrambling with excitement and disbelief. So sit tight as we dissect and explore every minute detail, every mysterious imperfection, and every mind-blowing possibility that elevated this 25-cent coin into the upper echelons of high-value collectibles, because what you're about to hear is not just about a coin, it's about how imperfection sometimes defines greatness, how mistakes during production became million-dollar marvels, and how an artifact from 1980 carrying a Denver mint mark shocked the coin world with its unprecedented auction price, beginning with the very foundation of how such a quarter came to be minted in the first place, understanding that in 1980, the US Mint was producing coins at a rapid pace, attempting to meet high demand from the expanding economy, and during this high-volume production environment, the Denver Mint, known for its precision, experienced a rare sequence of technical missteps that went unnoticed during quality checks, resulting in a batch of quarters with multiple lead issues. And one specific coin from that batch was found to exhibit a breathtaking collection of minting anomalies, including double striking, off-center die alignment, planchet lamination, clipped planchet edge, missing clad layer on the obverse side, die cracks running through Washington's portrait, and most astonishingly, an inverted mint mark that had somehow been punched upside down, making it one of the few coins in modern US history to feature such a mistake. And that upside-down D alone was a red flag to collectors that something extraordinary had taken place, because mint marks are manually added, and such a glaring error indicates either a training mishap, tooling accident, or an extremely limited test run of experimental coinage, and paired with the missing clad layer which left half the coin with a pure copper appearance while the rest retained its original nickel sheen, the visual impact was as powerful as the historical implications, with numismatists agreeing that the dual metal surface alone drastically increased its desirability, but when combined with a 10% off center strike that slightly warped Washington's profile and left the date partially misaligned but still visible, it created a surreal, distorted artistic look that collectors dubbed the Picasso quarter for its abstract resemblance to modern art. And then there's the die cracks, which appeared like branching lightning bolts starting from the rim and running through the hairline and forehead, an error caused by overuse of the dies or improper maintenance. And yet another layer of intrigue was added when metallurgical analysis showed the coin was struck on a transitional planchet not intended for 1980 quarter production, likely a leftover blank from the late 1970s or an experimental test piece mistakenly fed into the striking press, a type of error so rare that entire books have been written about similar events. And what adds even more mystery is the theory that this coin may have originated during a shift change or maintenance period when a series of unchecked blanks and improperly calibrated machinery combined to create a perfect storm of minting disaster that ironically produced a treasure, and as the coin passed unnoticed through commerce for decades, changing hands as ordinary change, enduring years of wear until someone with a keen eye and a magnifying lens spotted the unusual coloration and off-center alignment, and upon closer inspection realized it was more than just a misprint, it was a jackpot in disguise. And when that coin was sent to grading, the experts were astounded, assigning it a one-of-a-kind classification due to the sheer number of significant errors occurring simultaneously, something so improbable it bordered on miraculous. And when it hit the auction block, competitive bidding from elite collectors, museums, and investors drove the price up to a record-breaking $38 million, setting a new benchmark for error coin valuation and rewriting the narrative around how important anomalies can be in determining coin value, especially when they intersect with historical moments and production patterns from a busy era like 1980, and beyond its value lies the philosophical intrigue, the idea that something flawed, something considered broken or mistaken, could be elevated above all others due to the uniqueness of its imperfections, and this 1980 D quarter embodies that perfectly, because it's not merely a coin, it's a story, a lesson, and a relic of a moment where human error gave birth to accidental perfection, a perfect storm of mismatched planchets, flawed dies, incorrect mint mark orientation, and overlooked quality checks converging into a single object that now lives behind armored glass, admired by millions who recognize the irony and the value of this historical accident. And as more enthusiasts begin to examine their spare change in search of similar hidden treasures, the legend of the 1980 D quarter continues to grow, inspiring a new generation of hobbyists to study die states, recognize planchet anomalies, appreciate the aesthetics of minting errors, and above all, to never underestimate the possibilities that lie within the smallest denominations of everyday life, because that one overlooked coin you spend on a gumball might just be the next million-dollar marvel waiting to be discovered, and in this case, it was a 25-cent coin whose imperfections unlocked generational wealth and global fascination, showing us once again that in the world of rare coins, the value lies not just in rarity or age, but in the details, the oddities, and the story that accompanies the metal. And so the 1980 D quarter, now permanently etched into the chronicles of numismatic history, serves as a golden example that the smallest mistakes can leave the biggest mark, and that attention to detail, a curious eye, and a little bit of luck can turn a forgotten quarter into a life-changing fortune, proving that within the chaos of mass production, hidden treasures still wait to be found by those patient and perceptive enough to seek them. And as we continue delving deeper into the remarkable story of the 1980 D quarter dollar, the narrative becomes even richer with layers of intrigue and technical marvel that only heighten its importance in the realm of collectible currency, because beyond the visible errors and surface anomalies lies a fascinating interplay of minting history, production policies, and numismatic evolution during a time when the United States Mint was undergoing subtle yet impactful operational transitions. Especially at the Denver Mint, which in 1980 was balancing enormous production quotas while adjusting to new mechanical standards and shifts in staff training, which often led to lapses in oversight that birthed rare errors like the one seen in this legendary coin. And it's important to recognize that this quarter does not exist in isolation but rather as a relic that embodies a convergence of circumstances, anomalous materials, outdated dies, fatigued equipment, and human oversight, all aligning in a way so improbable that statisticians have likened the odds of such a coin being created and surviving circulation for over 4 decades to winning a multi-million-dollar lottery, not once but multiple times. And as collectors and researchers reviewed the coin further, more subtle complexities emerged, such as ghosting effects near the edges, a visual echo of Washington's profile due to a slight die bounce or vibration at the moment of striking, and an unusually raised rim that suggested the coin was subject to excessive pressure or improper collar alignment during minting, adding to the already significant list of minting mishaps. And upon metallurgical testing, trace elements inconsistent with typical 1980 quarter composition hinted at contamination or usage of an experimental blank, further fueling the belief that this coin could have been a product of a brief but undocumented test run using leftover transitional planchets, a detail that numismatists obsess over because it directly links the coin to a very specific and rare type of error that combines wrong planchet use with a production year mismatch. And if that wasn't enough to make this coin legendary, consider the story of its discovery. A young coin enthusiast, barely into his teenage years, sifting through a pile of coins from a garage sale, guided only by curiosity and a recently acquired pocket microscope, noticed the strange coloration and asymmetry, setting into motion a sequence of events that would eventually lead to professional grading, authentication, media attention, and ultimately, a fierce global bidding war that stunned even the most seasoned numismatic veterans. And this journey from obscurity to stardom highlights a profound truth in the coin collecting world, that knowledge, patience, and curiosity can turn ordinary people into discoverers of extraordinary value. And in this case, it all started with a child's interest and a quarter that had defied logic, time, and odds to become a $38 million marvel. And as this coin continues to tour exhibitions and inspire documentaries, podcasts, and academic papers, it underscores the educational and inspirational potential embedded in numismatics, where each coin is not just a medium of exchange but a time capsule of human endeavor, mechanical limitations, historical context, and sometimes miraculous error. And in the case of this 1980 D quarter, it serves as a perpetual reminder that minting errors are not just flaws, they're stories, they're enigmas, and when compounded with scarcity and uniqueness, they become invaluable artifacts that transcend their monetary face value and become legends in their own right, leaving us with the lesson that sometimes in life and in minting, it is not the perfection that brings greatness, but the rare, unrepeatable imperfections that elevate something into a category all its own.